one of the things we talked about early on was what makes the profession of real estate challenging is you're inserted into a very emotional time, and it's a very emotional purchase. And one of the things that I've always seen as kind of strange is we have this super emotional purchase and then this really impersonal closing gift, a gift card, or right, like, so it doesn't match the actual experience. You know, and I want to come back to this because now that we've got the stories, we go back to what Jim said earlier, which is I'm playing the positioning game in their mind, and I'm giving them the story to tell about me and this experience they have. And, you know, now that we hear that, right, we heard it, it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty amazing, because the guitar is going to be the story. Oh, and you know, this guy is so amazing and he has such high attention to detail that he heard me say this and acted upon it. Now, all of those things are things we'd want someone to say about us professionally: high attention to detail, action orientation. So what the other piece I want you to go deeper on, Ryan, is this idea of demonstrating and not telling. The temptation that people have is to tell people that they're the best and tell people why.
You know, it helps to be, what is it, an Iowan, you know, the show me, show, don't tell.
Yeah.
So it's so critical to actually live it out and to hit on that emotional tie. You know, people, we like to think we make logical decisions, but we don't. We make emotional decisions, and then we use logic to justify why we acted emotionally. And so you've got to hit on that emotional tie to help people want to act, and whatever the act is. In this case, we're talking about we want the action to be telling. And so, yeah, you need to equip them with the talking points. But to your point, you don't just tell them, you have to show them. And you used a term earlier, can't fail, which is one of my favorite terms. So I talk about a couple different types of moments. There are two moments. There's a signature moment and there's a can't fail moment. And the signature moment is what blows their socks off, and that's the guitar moment. But what's interesting about that is there were all these can't fail moments also. Like you mentioned, he also delivered exceptionally, right? Or she wouldn't.
Right.
So if he hadn't, exactly,
Table stakes.
table stakes. And you can't forget about the table stakes, or what I call can't fail moments, or it'll also make all that work will just vanish, and they won't tell the story either because
right. Yeah. You know, we haven't used the word luxury in this conversation. I think it's just implied. But one of the things that's really important at this level, and to know that primarily Jim's working in a multi-million-dollar market, right? And he's dealing with a variety of people, but the thing they all have in common is they're able to make multi-million-dollar purchases of a home. So when we look at those folks and the can't fail moments, one thing at that level is the expectation of competence, right, Jim?
Yeah, I want to go back to, in that word of competence, to something that Ryan said earlier. The real estate industry, I believe, is sectioned into two categories. One are transactions and one are relationships. When you're talking about the horrible statistic of people not hiring a realtor, again, 13% hire them. That means that whatever that is, 87% don't. Those 87% that don't had a professional that was in the transaction business. They weren't in the relationship business. At the close of escrow, they thought they were out of business and they're looking for the next transaction, as opposed to continuing to expand an audience of people that you're in relationship with. One of the questions I guess I would ask our fellow practitioners is for them to really look, are they in the transaction business or are they in the relationship business? And one of the keys to being, when I talk about Ryan, a detective, is having a discipline of listening to understand as opposed to interrupt. And I do very little talking. I want to ask a question and be quiet. And that's how I learned about the guitar. This family has tremendous resources. They could have set guitar lessons up, or this woman could have set guitar lessons up for herself. but somehow she did not give herself permission to do so. And it's too complicated for me to understand why, but somebody gave her permission. And now she is having an incredible experience that she didn't expect. So this process of being a good detective is very intentional, of really being a good listener and asking good questions.